Hello YouTube and welcome to GrunfWorks. This is episode 46 of the Interplanetary Voyage of Exploration. And today is the big day. As you can see, our title of the episode says Onwards to Duna. And guess why is that? Yes, today we will be start doing the transfers of our whole flotilla and making the transfers to Duna. So, finishing up on our ships and actually running them out one by one, and also making the launches. So, first rolling out our ScanSat and doing the launch. So this is the design that I came up with over the summer during the vacation, and it was originally intended for Joule, but then again it didn't have enough communications range, and I felt it was a pretty decent design, so I didn't really want to scrap it. So rather than actually sending it off to Joule, I decided just to wait a little bit and send it off to Duna. You will see the payload shortly, as soon as we get out of the atmosphere. So yeah, I'm just preparing the maneuver node for the circularization burn. Nothing really special, and here you can see it. On the top we have a small communication satellite that is supposed to communicate back to Kerbin and relay the data from the two probes. I have designed this one way before I was planning this big exploration ship that we launched in the previous episode. But then I figured it's already hanging in there, so one additional relay satellite definitely couldn't hurt. So yes, burning for the orbit, and here you can see on the sides of the transfer body we have two small ScanSat probes. So the reasoning is to send these two ScanSat probes to actually scan for basically, let's say, height maps and biome maps. Hopefully they will help us get some decent information as where we want to land. So this one will need to execute its mission prior to our Jeb landing. After all, we don't just want to wing it now, do we? Okay. So, yeah, it consists of a nuclear stage, which is the transfer stage, and then two small satellites together with this. So now I'm just trying to see if I do have a return stage here, but I don't, because this was designed way before then making a decision to use the reusable probes. Screeny. Okay, and yeah, circularized. I'm pretty happy the way this looks, and let us go to the next one. So we have also warp stop because of an SOI change, and this time we're rolling out the lander. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jeb is going to embark on his historic voyage to Duna. So, how are you feeling there, buddy? Ready for the launch? And yes. By the way, this is a more unconventional lander, and you have seen me doing the test launch for it, so I'm showing this now at times acceleration just to see that basically follow through the launch. And we have the first booster stage separation successful. And this is actually where I first started using the parachutes when they were being deployed in atmosphere, and it's very handy, better than Separatrons, because Separatrons can destroy or endanger our rocket that's going up, when the actual parachute just open and drag immediately sets in for these boosters, which is kind of handy. Cybertrons are more important in space, I guess. So, let us quickly set up the Circularization Maneuver node. By the way, I'm not particularly proud how these struts look like, but then again, what can you do? Okay, deploying the second stage of boosters, opening up some solar panels just to make sure that we have ample supply of electricity, and burning for the circularization. This is a little bit going into more advanced landers because you saw it in the previous episode when we were doing the tests how we're actually planning on using this kind of infernal robotics for our landing legs, and we're using the dual nukes this time to be able to maintain a higher thrust weight and also to be able to take off from Duna as well. So, now setting up another maneuver node because I went a little bit overboard when it comes to... I want my craft that will be in the parking orbit around Kerbin until the transfer date. I want them all to basically be in 100 by 100 orbit or 105 by 105 orbit, which would be circular. This will make our transfers much more efficient and easy. Okay, that one is 105 by 85, so one more burn should hopefully have us on a 105 by 105 orbit. I'm doing 105 by 105 to make sure that we get no collisions with our space station and few other craft that we have in 100 kilometer orbit. It's getting crowded in there, so I'm actually thinking that I might need to do a cleanup at some point in time. But then again, we really want to have an epic mission at Duna, and that's why we want to use this transfer window as much as possible. Duna looked very interesting through our telescope, so yeah. Okay, onwards to our next launch. So, just carefully thinking about... Hold on. Just... yeah, let's just recondition the launch pad quickly before we roll out the next ship. And as you can see, as we are doing reconditioning launch, our Kerbin to Duna window is coming ever so closer. So yeah, 14 days, I mean, you could say it's very busy at the KSC here, launch after launch, which kind of reminds me of an old SF movie, Gattaca. There, sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it was kind of a movie where I remember launches going every little bit, and then it is an epic movie. If you haven't seen it, you might want to check it out. Okay, and here we have our last exploration ship launch, and let us see now. So, rather than showing you that launch, you've already seen me do an exploration ship launch. I want to first make sure to show you the transfer for our Kerbin to Duna window. So I have deliberately decided not to immediately show you the launch of the second exploration vessel. It will be shown at a later stage, and you'll see a reason why. So, making a transfer maneuver node to Duna, checking all the parameters, making sure that we have prograde and normal and all the other stuff, and that our ejection angles are being set correctly. And then I realized, wow, you actually, just by using this, can actually plot a very nice transfer. So thank you to the maker of the mod on how to actually use it. So yeah, I'm just moving it a little bit forward, and we get the Duna encounter, and it is exactly as it said in that maneuver node. So now I'm just trying to slowly fiddle with the maneuver node just to make sure that I get as close to Duna as possible. After all, we want Jeb to be the first executing his burn. Yeah, this is, I think, as close as we can get. We don't really need to come much closer. And we are 14 minutes away from our burn, which will take us 1,700. And we have 1,400 total in our boosting stage, so we're gonna utilize that as well. Which will put it to some crazy orbit, but then again, I'll just manually delete it later, I guess. Still learning, guys. Don't judge me for that, please. Okay. Doing the burn. And here we have one side benefit of using our booster stage, and that is higher thrust to weight, because we're using the mainsail as opposed to the nukes. So we're already out of the Kerbin sphere of influence, which is certainly great. And then, oops, some minor explosion, but then again we knew that it would survive, so now we are burning on the nukes. And this lander looks really cool. I mean, it's not my design, but it's, you know, what they call a design of, I think it was Operation DX Gamer Show. He's a YouTuber, had some interesting stock campaign on the KSP. So yeah, thanks for the idea. We're definitely gonna use it. And it seems that I have burned a little bit either over or under, because we do not have an encounter. But then again, I'll just set up a correction burn. Yeah, this is not really helping, so I'm not gonna burn now, but I'll set up a maneuver node once we get out of Kerbin's SOI, which will help us actually do a much better job of fiddling and getting the Duna encounter. So hold on, come on. The reason is because I want to do this maneuver nodes as close as possible, but I'll be doing them once I am in the interplanetary space. Okay, so time to go to another probe, and here we have our chemical probe that's supposed to go to Duna as well. And that one had one busted battery, obviously. So, yeah. When it comes to it, I was thinking, okay, let us just set up the same procedure as we did for the lander, clearly. But, yeah, and this is the one that I confused in the previous episode with the Dres one, because I was thinking that it will have enough electric charge to run, but you'll see a little bit that we had a little bit of issue with it. I'm already having an encounter with Duna, just by putting in the parameters that I've gotten from the transfer window planner, so thanks for that once again. And I'm just telling it the maneuver node, hold maneuver node, and execute. I just didn't want to be fiddling around with it, so let's just see how the maneuver node will execute. And then I realized that I'm actually running out of electric charge, which is a little bit disconcerting, and which meant when we came to our maneuver node, will we be able to burn or not? No, the status says connection error, out of power. As you can see, we have messed up our transfer once again. There is an actual remedy to that. I think I'll just put it in a higher orbit, and then I will once again execute. So if we're in a higher orbit, our blackout time should be shorter, and hopefully we would be able to do so, to do the burn. And now we are back to the transfers. So rather than making you mad of all the transfers being executed one at a time, I figured it's more of the same, right? So I figured to show you all 4 in parallel, together with the launch of the Exploration 2, which you have already seen. So I thought, like, if I was to show them one at a time, it would probably take 3 episodes, and come on, let's face it, nobody wants to watch 3 episodes of interplanetary transfers. That's just boring. So yes, here you can see me. The one to the bottom right is the last exploration, where we were just launching. Above it is the exploration ship that's already in orbit for the transfer. Like I said, I'm sending 2 just for redundancy's sake. All of them have communication satellites. Now that I'm thinking back, maybe I should have put some science satellites there. But then again, this is the first launch of this ship, so I wanted to make sure that it actually gets to Duna, and it's very important that we have enough satellites there. To the bottom left, we have this chemical probe, which was launching in a higher orbit around Kerbin and then burning to go to Duna. And on the top left, we have the ScanSat, which you have seen me launch like only a few minutes ago. So all of them are doing their transfer burns. And so the point is, after we do these transfer burns, we will be doing some correction burns, just to make sure, until we make sure that we are on our correct way to Duna. So just sit back and enjoy the transfers. When it comes to the bottom left, I was very low on the delta V for this chemical probe. So this burn that I will be executing, that will be help me encountering Duna, will leave me with like maybe 5 to 10, or I think around 5-6 delta V total, to actually do the correction burn and actually encounter Duna in the first place. And the reasoning behind it was that I spent a lot of delta V on actually circularizing in the higher orbit around Kerbin, which was something I shouldn't have done. But then again, what can you do? I mean, otherwise we wouldn't be able to go to Duna in the first place. So yes, here you can see me just correcting a bunch of orbits, and now we are doing the interplanetary burn for our ScanSat probe on the top left corner. That one is now burning for the Duna encounter, while for our exploration ships we are setting up a correction burns to make sure that we will encounter Duna. So first burning for the for the Duna rendezvous, and then a small correction once we get out of the Kerbin's SOI. That's a general principle that I'm sticking to with all 4 here. On the bottom right, you see us fiddling with the maneuver node for the Exploration 2, and above it Exploration 1, and us struggling to get a correction burn for the Duna chemical probe that will hopefully not waste all of our delta V. So, and here we go. So I'm just gonna have to go and execute that maneuver node as is, and hope that we will have enough delta V to actually encounter Duna in the first place with our chemical probe. So, doing a little bit of time acceleration, and our chemical probe is initiating its burn, while our exploration ships are also preparing to do the burn. I think the bottom right one is doing the burn, while on the top right, exploration 1, we are actually enabling our communication satellites, our communication dishes, to target the 3 communication satellites. So each of the exploration ships has a total of 3 antennas, 1 targeting each medium communication satellite for redundancy reasons. And these redundancy reasons will become more important if we decide to aerobrake around Duna, which I'm not exactly sure if I want to do with this ship of this complexity. But then again, we have 2 of them, so if both make it, why not? Might be an interesting stuff to watch. So yes, now ever so carefully fiddling with the maneuver nodes at the bottom, renaming our top exploration to a Duna Explorer 1, and then second one deploying the communication dishes. Also in the scan set, checking. It's always good, guys, to make sure while you're still at Kerbin to ensure that both of your remote tech dishes are pointing to the right satellite, and that they are being activated, and that the solar panels are providing enough power. And here you can see our whole flotilla going out of the Kerbin sphere of influence. Our chemical probe a little bit lagging behind, but then again, we don't need to care. And we are doing a little bit time acceleration just until they cross the Kerbin sphere of influence, because after that we will be doing corrections. So, lander is out. Jeb, have a good trip. And come back with us with a plentiful loot of sweet, sweet science. Will you, please? Thank you. So, exploration 1, cross the sphere of influence, exploration 2, and our mini Duna probe chemical 1. Perfect, that pretty much leaves all of our ships out of the Kerbin sphere of influence, and we're coming up on the first of the correction burns for it. And I don't think that I have been using like 4 screens for the correction burns, but I will be just adding them at the back. Because yeah, I've forgotten, simply put, to add. But then again, these correction burns are quite actually small and quick, so yeah. Using also the flight computer on this massive ship. Okay. Just 40 meters per second burn. Not too shabby, but we want to make sure. And now I'm burning like this because I really want to secure that this time we have a good encounter with Duna. So, we are T-minus 15 when I just said execute the planned maneuver. And let's see how the flight computer will get it close enough. Oh, and we get a free Ike encounter. Sure, why not? And then I realized just by going left and right, I could actually use the RCS to make a better alignment with Duna. Cool. 1 down, 3 more to go. Flight computer off, which is ever so important, and then let us go to the Duna exploration number 2. Or actually, was it Duna lifter? Yeah, right, the Duna lifter is the next one to happen, sorry. I think actually I did the exploration 2 off camera because, I mean, really it's more of the same, so not really point to actually bore you with all that. After all, it's more fun to see Jeb do his thing when it comes to Duna. And now we are actually the first Kerbal outside of the Kerbin sphere of influence. So I'm actually will be sending some of the sweet science already back home. Because why not? So, Jeb, how does it feel being the first Kerbal out of the Kerbin's sphere of influence? Yeah, I can see that you're all excited. Okay, so let's do the material study. I don't know if I'll regret it later. And we're toggling autocollect, solar particle analysis, and we'll do an EVA report. But first, let us fold the panel and extend the ladders, because I found it easier to prevent Jeb from floating away. And then again, retract everything, deploy the solar panels, and then send this one. And I'll actually keep this one because it's only sending a partial amount of science. And then this materials based study is actually bugging me, so I really want to get it out of the way and actually do the materials based study. I was first checking how many of them I actually have on board. I was hoping that I had 4, but I think I'm having 3. But nevertheless, it's also worth something, right? Materials study. Okay, and that basically rendered this experiment useless. Yeah. Oh well, you live, you learn. So, time for us to do our actual correction burn. So, this one we'll be doing manually because obviously we don't use the flight computer, but it's Jeb's flying by the seat of his pants. So, okay, and let us warp to our maneuver node and do the burn. I'm watching here Duna once again because I want to see how close will we get the encounter. Reducing the thrust, and here we go. Nice enough. Close it up. Next. So, I think we have the mini chemical probe, and this one was very finicky because if you look, our remaining delta V is only 4, and to make things worse, we do not have an encounter with Duna. We came close, but we don't have it. So now you will see me doing desperate attempts of actually getting a Duna encounter for 4 meters per second or less. And I can tell you it's not that simple. 6.2. Not gonna cut it, gentlemen. 5. 4.1. I don't have 4.1. Do I have a 4? Do I have 3? And it's a tiny one, so... But then again, we put the 4. Sold for 4 meters per second. And note, please execute this maneuver node before our fuel tanks change their mind and say we don't have 4 meters per second. By the way, guys, this was really a nerve-wracking burn because I already scrapped one Duna probe that was supposed to be the near future probe, and for this chemical one, and then the other chemical one had an NAN issue, which was the Odrez one, and now this one was almost not going to Duna. But in the end, all turned out well, and we have a Duna encounter. So, which brings us to the end of this episode. I hope you liked the episode. Like if you liked the episode, and more KSC content coming soon. Thank you very much for watching. This is GrunfWorks signing off.